Today's video is brought to you by quickmoto.com. Check the code on screen for 20% off of a badass set of graphics. And then I'm also doing a bike waffle for my Yamaha 450. It's a chance to win a dirt bike for $100, and all these entries will support the channel and me continuing to bring y'all content.
What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. Before I get into today's video, I just wanted to thank everybody that gave me input on the merch design. I think I've settled on going with a black one instead of a white one. We're all at the moto track, so we don't need to be getting a white shirt dirty. But I think we're going to do same design on the front, and then possibly it's in the contract or another one of my phrases in the back, so let me know what y'all think about that. For today's video, we are just past the halfway point of the 2025 Supercross season, and it's an off weekend this weekend, so just trying to dip my toe into some different content. So today I figured I'd go through the top 10 or so in the 450 class and then top several in 250 East and West and just kind of give them a grade, a report card of sorts, just kind of based on my expectations of these riders and then how they've actually performed. And obviously, this is super subjective. This is just what I think, and what do I know? So by all means, please, y'all, let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree with what I'm putting down, if you think I'm out to lunch or anything in between, even if you want to hate, I don't care. Just send it my way, no choice. And I don't really have any notes besides what I gave them for a grade, so these are kind of just rapid fire thoughts off the top of my head. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. We'll start with the 450 class. First in points, Cooper Webb. I don't really know what else we could give the dude other than an A+. He's done everything he needs to do. I don't know that he's finished worse than fourth all season, and he's been on a hell of a run right now, opening up the points lead little by little every weekend, and he's in a great spot. So really, things are looking perfect for the number two, so A+ is the only thing I could think to give him. Then second in points, Chase Sexton. And this was a way harder one to do because it was tough for me to give him the grade I gave him, even though he still has plenty of a shot at the championship. But I'm giving him a C just for the fact that ever since Jet Lawrence and Eli Tomac have vacated the class, he has yet to win a main event again. He started off the season great, but I don't know if it's just something mental, and we got a lot of crashes, and it's just been kind of several head-scratching weekends in a row from Sexton. But he could turn this around, and within 3 weeks, he could get that thing right back into the A range. He just needs a couple good weekends in a row to get some momentum back going. Then in third, Kickstart Kenny, and I got to be real with you guys. I didn't expect hardly anything of him this year, and I don't really have any good reasoning for that. Just didn't think it was his year, but he's been awesome all year, so I'm giving him an A. He's had a couple of small blemishes on the record with the lapper situation in Tampa and going down in the first turn in Indy, but he's still third in points. Without that incident in Tampa, he would have been the points leader up until Indy, so it's honestly been a bit of a Cinderella story for him this year. Then fourth in points, Justin Cooper. I'm going to give him an A-. The beginning of the season was a little bit iffy. Didn't start out the best with those West Coast tracks. The whoops don't break down near as much, and you kind of have to stay skimming them a lot more times than not, which, as we know, that's not really Justin Cooper's strong suit. But once we headed east, the whoops started to become jumpers. He started hop, skipping, and jumping his way up towards the podium, ended up with a second in Indy, and all signs are pointed in the right direction for J. Coop. He's been on a really good run. I don't think he's been out of the top 5 in several weeks, and he's looking good. Then fifth in points, Malcolm Stewart. I'm going to give him an A+ also because I did not expect much from him at all, to be honest with y'all. I kind of thought his best years were behind him. It's been a long time since he's gotten a podium, and he just went out and got a surprise win in Tampa earlier this year. Really fast in qualifying. He's shown a lot of flash, a lot of speed, and it's been a bit of a resurgence for the 27, so it's been really fun to watch. And just based on the fact that I didn't expect much, I have to give him an A+. He's definitely overperformed in my eyes and likely the eyes of many others. Then sixth in points, El Hombre, Jason Anderson. It pains me to do this because I ride with Team Fried, no choice. I'm a fan, but I got to give him a C+. The beginning of the season was good, but he is a West Coast guy. He'd snagged a couple of podiums, and then ever since we've gone east, it's just been a bit of a roller coaster. A lot more lows than highs, a few mistakes, a scuffle with Barsha, and everything in between. So the season's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit, but all it takes again is a couple good races and get that momentum back. Seventh in points, Justin Barsha. I'm just going to give him a flat B because he's been super quiet, which is odd because you can always hear that dude anywhere. He's the loudest guy on the track, but it's been a silent assassin-like season for him, and really up until Indy, I hardly even have noticed him on the broadcast or anything, and almost got that podium in Indy, but we've seen Barsha win in the past, so I feel like he's definitely got more in the tank, so I'm just going to give him a B, even though last year was really rough, so I feel like this is a rebuilding year for him. Then in eighth, Officer Hill, Justin Hill. I'm giving him an A. I feel like he's overperformed heavy this year. Been super good in qualifying. We all know he's good at busting out those big combos and just doing cool stuff that showcases his insane level of talent. Just hasn't quite put it all the way together in a main event just yet to get a good result, but he's definitely been right on the outside looking in all season, and he's been way better than I thought. You can tell he's been working hard. And bravo, Justin Hill, you are killing it. Then in ninth, Aaron Plessinger, AP, the Cowboy. This pains me to do it also, but the beginning of the season was such a train wreck for AP. It was a disaster. So I got to give him a C plus, although he has turned the season around. Daytona and Indy, he was good with the third and the fifth. So I think that grade's only going to start rising. But the beginning of the season, I don't think anybody can disagree, was just absolutely horrible all the way around. But he was sick. I think he was riding hurt at one point. He's just been dealing with a lot of stuff. But as an AP fan, I've always had faith, and I think the rest of the season is going to be really good for him. He's in the right direction. Rounding out the top 10 in points, Dylan Ferrandis. I'm going to give him a B minus just because I've hardly noticed him out there, but I don't think he's done anything too bad either. He's just been right outside that main group, right at the tail end of it. I feel like that's actually kind of what I expect out of Dylan at this point. So B minus is where he's at. And then I want to get into a couple of these guys that were outside the top 10 in points that are injured. I just want to give them a grade based on what they did while they were present. 12th in points, Eli Tomac. I'm going to give him an A minus for while he was there. His speed was incredible. He looked like the Eli Tomac that we all know and love. Maybe better than ever, but he may have been the fastest guy in those first 4 rounds, but he only got 1 podium. He got 1 win. And it was just a lot of inconsistency, bad starts, and mistakes and things like that. So I think he definitely would have been a factor for the championship down the stretch, but he still had a few things to iron out. Then in 14th, Jet Lawrence. I'm going to give him an A minus just because of the absolute insane level of excellence I've come to expect out of him. Started slow. Anaheim 1 was a disaster, but he picked it up really quickly, and he had already won by the 3rd round, and he may have even won that 4th round if he didn't pull the Matty B and do the leg dab to ACL tear combo. So I think he was on his way to definitely being one of the main players in the championship, and he may have even been on his way to figuring it out the very next week, but we never got the chance to see it. Then in 16th, Hamta, I'm going to give him a B+. I feel like he was just outside that main group that he's striving to be in. He was really good, really consistent, but just a tick below those main guys, so I'm going to give him a B+. And then 22nd in points, Jorge Prado. I feel like a lot of people were a lot higher on him than I am, but I actually am just going to give him a B-. Obviously, his starts were good. We knew that was going to be in the contract, but I actually feel like the speed was definitely not very good, especially for the level of rider he is, but he didn't have that much time on the bike in the offseason. I think he came in hurt, so that B- is mainly just because he's a world champion and he's that good of a rider, but I feel like the odds were stacked against him, and he didn't even really get much of a chance. He smashed himself into the net, dislocated shoulder, and that's that. Now into the 250 West point standings. In the points lead, Hayden Deegan. I'm actually going to give him an A-, which is crazy because he's totally in control of this series, but I actually expected a lot more of him, especially early on. The beginning of the series was a major struggle for him. I feel like he was never comfortable, just never looked like himself, but now he's back on the Swanee program. He's got that intensity back in him, and I think he's on the way to righting the ship. I think that grade will turn into at least an A here in the next couple of rounds based on the trend we're at. Then in the 2 spot, Julian Beaumer, 2 Jews. I'm going to give him an A, and it would be an A+ had he not torn the labia, but unfortunately, injuries will knock down the grade a little bit, but he has been unreal this year. He's been a revelation of that 250 West class, and I didn't expect it at all. I don't even believe I picked him in my top 5, so that's on me for sleeping on him. But I feel like he's overperformed for probably everybody's standards except for maybe himself and the team's. Then in 3rd, Cole Davies. I want to give him a higher grade than an A+. I want to give him an A+++. Like, I don't mean to sound like I'm blowing Cole Davies, but every weekend, I just cannot believe how good of a rider he is. He impresses me more and more each weekend. I mean, did you guys see him in Indy going through those whoops with ruts that looked like corduroy pants? And he was the only one skimming them the entire night, swapping left to right, passing guys like Anstey and Shimoda, just blowing through the field without even thinking twice about it. So this kid is unreal. I'm about ready to stamp it that he's going to be Supercross champion by next year, and by far the most impressive rider of the series for me in either class. Then in 4th, Joe Shimoda. Even though the series has kind of turned south because of his run-in with the pit board, that's not his fault at all, so I'm going to give him an A. He was awesome at A1 to come out swinging and win the opener, which is usually his weakness, so good on him for trying to right that wrong. But then he got hit by the pit board, but I'm going to maintain this A grade because he soldiered through the samurai effort. I mean, he could have packed it in. He could have got surgery and collected a paycheck from the house, but he stayed out there to try to stay in it, and it hasn't been pretty. The results haven't been perfect, but the effort's been there. And yeah, you got to admire the grit from Joe. Then we got a tie for 5th in points. First, Jordan Smith. Before he went out, I definitely wanted to give him an A. I feel like he was actually kind of riding like a veteran. I feel like he was making better decisions besides that last lap crash going for the podium at A2. But for the most part, I felt like he was riding really within himself. But just that one crash in the whoop section, that's all it'll take. One mistake and you're out. But I feel like he had looked awesome on the new Triumph. I think he was making the team look really good. And I just hate that he's out now because I feel like he was going to be a major player for that championship. But maybe next year. Also tied for 5th in points, Cody Schock. I got to give him an A also. getting second and landing himself on the box in that Triple Crown was awesome for him, the club team, for all those guys. And Cody Schock, he's not one of these guys that had this storybook amateur career or anything like that. He's kind of scratched and clawed his way from the bottom, started from the bottom, now he's here. And his rise the last few years has been unbelievable to watch. So great job to Cody Schock. Now we'll head into the 250 East point standings. The points leader, Tom Vial. Oddly enough, for the points leader, I got to give him a B+. I just don't feel like the speed's been there, especially for a defending champion. I mean, we've seen the number one plate down 11th, 12th, 13th on the board in qualifying, which is crazy. But I mean, when it counts, when the main event gate drops and the points are being paid, he does figure it out, and that's when he's at his best. So there's definitely some value in that. And he's been super consistent. That's what's found him in this points lead. I just don't think after every round's complete, I don't know if that's still going to be enough, but it has been right now. So good on Tom Vial. He's got the red plate. Then in second, Max Anstey. If you were just going to grade him off of his performance at Tampa at the opener, it would be A+++. The dude crushed it. But ever since then, he's been a little bit off. Maybe that red flag restart, getting the win snatched away from him by Kitchen. I don't know if that had something to do with losing a little mojo. Then he had a Daytona press day crash. So it's been a lot going wrong for Anstey, and he's still only a point out of the lead. So if he can take this couple-week break, come back out swinging, he's still in a really good spot for it, and he's ahead of most of his other title rivals. So I got to give him a B just because I expected a lot more out of him, especially after how he looked at the first round, and I feel like he's fallen apart a little bit, but there's probably a lot more going on that we don't even know about. Third in points, Seth Hamaker. I'm giving him an A. And without food poisoning at round 2, this would be your points leader in the 250 East. He won the East-West Showdown, and he's looked awesome this year. He's changed up the program with Burner and the Lawrence brothers, and I think Seth's on his way to the top. I think this is the change he needed to really make the difference, to stay healthy and stay in it for the whole season. So I'm saying it now, Seth Hamaker, title contender. Then fourth in points, RJ Hampshire. I got to give him a B just because of some of the mistakes we've seen so far. His speed has been unreal, like it always is. RJ sends it like he always does, but there's been mistakes, there's been bad starts, and there's been a lot of points left on the table. But I do think he's the best rider in the 250 East class, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he'll pull out the championship also. But so far, all I can give him is a B just based on mistakes. Then fifth in points, Nate Thrasher. I'm going to go with a B- just because I feel like he's on the best biking team, and I've hardly noticed him. I do believe he got a heat race win, but also suffered, I think, a badly broken finger at the practice track due to some practice chaos. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and bump him up to a B just for riding through it and being gritty. And then last but not least, sixth in the points, Chance Hyman. I'm giving him an A just because I didn't even think he was going to be racing. The dude rode the bike like half of a time before the series started, and he's been awesome. I feel like he's looked a lot better than results have been. And I feel like he had been playing it smart, but he did have a big crash at the East-West Showdown. But you'll have that sometimes on the bigger jobs, especially at Indy. But Hymas has been awesome. I think we can only expect more out of him headed outdoors. But that's my grades for all these guys. 450 class, 250 West, 250 East. But I'm just one guy, super subjective. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what I'm out to lunch about. And let me know if you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys have any ideas for anything else I can do during this off time. I'm always trying to entertain you guys and think of new ideas. And should have something really interesting for you guys coming up this weekend. It's something you guys have been asking me about a lot, and it's a video I've gotten requested to do for a long time that I've never had the time to do, and I'm finally going to bust it out. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Catch y'all next time.